So you want to travel to beautiful destinations to experience the seclusion and calmness that nature can offer, but you don't want to fight those crowds that the well-known spots always seem to attract. The thing is though, finding these hidden gems seems to elude you. Well, today I am going to give you my top 5 tips for finding perfect, secluded, peaceful camping and photography locations. Now to kick things off, I'm going to give you a bonus tip that doesn't quite make it into my top 5, but is a very helpful thing to talk about. This bonus tip is to find inspiration. Whether that be from another photographer, a travel blogger, or maybe a magazine of some sorts like Nat Geo, whatever it is important that you have that inspiration. Now, I know that photographers especially gatekeep their locations, and I am personally guilty of this myself. And we do this for good reason. And the first and most important reason is it helps keep our wild places wild and ensures that their protection and conservation is going to be prolonged in the future, even though we are showcasing the beautiful location on social media. But for me personally, nature photography is more about the chase rather than the destination. I don't give my destinations away because yes, I want to protect them, but mainly I don't want to rob you of the chance of experiencing the chase for yourself. Learn to love the chase. And if you incorporate the tools that I'm going to give you today, the results you are going to be looking for will come, I promise you. Now, tip number 1 is a simple one. Google it. Now, if you're going to be going to a location, you're trying to do some pre-scouting, or maybe you're looking for a place closer to home to do an out and back trip, or maybe just a quick weekend getaway, Googling using terms such as secluded camping spots near you, best hidden campsites near your city or state, remote campsites near your region, undiscovered camp areas in your state or region, backcountry camping in your national park/state, public land camping near your area can all help start the research process you might need to find your next hidden gem. Now, obviously, if there is a search result being produced, there is a good chance this location might not be as hidden as you are hoping, but it's at least a start. And when you start to incorporate other tools, especially the tools I share with you in tip number 4, you're really going to be able to find some of these hidden gems that you are looking for. Back to this tip, I find that it is really useful if I'm going to be in a specific region or location more than doing just a general search in my area. For example, I live not far from Death Valley National Park, which is a really big park. Doing a search like this can help me whittle down the busy areas from the not so busy areas. Another bonus to this is it can help me identify peak travel times to a location and also identify why this is a popular time to visit said location. From there, I can make an educated decision on whether or not traveling during the off times is worth it or not, which can help me get some spaces all to myself. For example, I traveled to Bryce Canyon in the winter and had the entire campground to myself. Now, Bryce Canyon is a smaller park, so I can't really get away from the crowds like I can in other parks like Death Valley. But since it was an off season, people weren't traveling there, and I saw that it really was actually still a good time for me to travel as a photographer, I had some peace and quiet and came away with some really good shots and lasting memories. Tip number 2 is to use the simple and free tools from Google Earth and Google Maps. Both of these tools I mainly use as means of finding spots near me that might be worth looking at. For example, where I live, there are tons of sandstone deposits scattered around. Of course, you have parks like the Valley of Fire, Red Rock Canyon, heck, even Zion National Park can be thrown into the conversation there. But I personally love finding some more off the beaten path locations to photograph and camp at. And to do this, I use a satellite feature on Google Earth to see if I can find any red sandstone amongst the sea of brown my state has. And then I'll use the 3D features to see if the landscape is really something that is worth checking out. Now, another tool that I really like to use with Google Maps is a tool called mapdevelopers.com. They have a feature where you can draw a radius circle around a given point to see what falls inside of that circle. For example, if I'm looking for an out and back trip, I try to stay within a 3-hour drive. For simplicity's sake, let's say that's a 200-mile radius. On mapdevelopers.com, they have this radius tool that you can use to visualize what falls inside, and from there, you can start to uncover spots that you can do some further research on, which both of these tips led me to the most important tip I can give to you: just go. The more you go, the more you will know. We are not always going to get things right when we plan it out, and that is perfectly okay. But there is no better teacher than experience. So get out and go. Take notes, ask questions to those that you run into out there, and you never know what you're going to stumble across. For example, this hidden campsite that I stayed out last winter when photographing wildlife, I found when I was 16 years old when I was out running around on an ATV. I made a mental note that I wanted to camp here in the future, and it finally came to fruition over 10 years later. But when it came time that I needed a spot, I had it in my back pocket because I went. The same can be said about my trips to the San Juan Mountains. I did a ton of research before I went the first time, but to be honest, I really struggled the first time out to find camp spots and some photography locations. Yes, it was still a successful trip. I really enjoyed myself and I came away with some really good photos and memories that I was proud of, but it wasn't until the years after that I really started to find the groove of finding these hidden gems for photography and those secluded camp spots. The next tip I have for you is a tool that is not only helping you find locations, but also helps you organize your thoughts and notes for future use. But before I share this with you, I want to take a second to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and to hit that like button if you found value in this video so far. Now, what if we had a tool that not only could we use Google Maps features, Google Earth features, but we could also find off-roading trails, public land access, and leave notes for future use. That is exactly what Onyx Off-Road allows us to do. Now, I am not sponsored to say this to you at all. I have used Onyx Off-Road for over 5 years now, and I also use the Onyx Hunt system for my wildlife photography and hunting needs, but the Off-Road app will probably be best for most of you, so I'm going to focus on that app right now. With this app, you can find off-road trails in a certain area, and when you click on them, you're going to get reports of the difficulty of the trail, how long it is, and can even share details on what you will find at the end or along the way. I like to use the waypoint feature to mark potential locations and then use the Google Maps feature to navigate to that spot. You can also see the 3D terrain by holding down both fingers and swiping up, and this makes scouting a breeze. And even better, the road navigation features helps you understand whether or not you can actually get to that spot given your vehicle situation. And as a bonus to this point, another app that I like to use is called PhotoPills. This helps me visualize all of the photography-centric information I want about a location, such as how is the sun going to interact with a scene, seeing how stars might align for an astro shot, and for helping me plan settings on my camera to accomplish said astro shots. And another app I also like to use is an app called AllTrails, which is essentially a hiking version of the Onyx Off-Road app. It provides hiking trail information so I can plan my trips accordingly. Using all of these apps in conjunction with the Onyx Off-Road app, along with researching and doing some basic Google search of the inspiration I gathered from another photographer, helped me plan and execute a photo shoot in Sedona at a popular location, and I had the entire place to myself for about 45 minutes, which is actually a big deal if you've ever been here before. Now, my last tip is to look for photography guidebooks for a specific location. Now, I personally do not use these, but again, like I mentioned earlier, I love the thrill of the chase. But I do have people in my circle who live and breathe by them, so I thought I would share them with you guys here as a resource. These guidebooks are often offered by other photographers and camping enthusiasts like yourself and provide details on locations in a given area, such as navigating to these areas, photography composition techniques for that area, gear you might need, you name it. They're usually listed in these books and guides. Now, a lot of this information can be found using all of the research tactics I explained in tip 1 and 2, but if you are looking for a more streamlined approach, these field guides they might be a good place for you to look. Now, you can obviously also join Facebook groups, Reddit threads, and you can even do some research on travel blogs if you're looking to find some free alternatives. But if you want to experience better moments out in the field, again, you just gotta go. That's the biggest takeaway I think you should have. Some of my best work wasn't because of some creative composition or fancy editing technique. It was all just because I was there in the moment with a camera ready to shoot. Which, if you're wanting to see some of my favorite moments from this past year, I have my 2025 photography calendar now on pre-sale. If you pre-order, I'm gonna give you guys 35% off your order, and I'm gonna personally sign your calendar before shipping it to you. Now, I'm in the final stages right now of working with my printer on the final count and some final changes that we need to make. But I'm going to be submitting my order here very soon. So if you're wanting to directly support me and my work for this next year, this is probably the best way that you can do that. Now, fall is on the way, and I can't wait to get back out in the field again, which I need to go pack because I'm about to head out right now, which keep an eye out for that video sometime next week. I will see you guys in the next adventure.